We are living through a bullshit golden age. But what exactly does this mean? And what are the likely implications? First, let me go over what bullshit is. Then let's talk about what enables the growth of bullshit. And then let's talk about what the likely consequences of that growth are going to be. I am Antoine Vernet, and I use social science and data literacy to help you understand business and society. Subscribe for more. Let's dive in. Let me first venture a short definition of bullshit. Bullshit is an utterance that is untethered to the truth. In that sense, it's different from lying that usually intersects with the truth. The bullshitter is willing to also fake the context. Bullshit is more likely when someone is outside of their comfort zone. This definition relies heavily on Frankfurt's definition on bullshit. In calling bullshit, Bergstrom and West argue that bullshit is everywhere. But they also argue that there are really two types of bullshit: old school bullshit and new school bullshit, or literary bullshit and bullshit that comes wrapped in math. They also suggest that most people are quite adept at spotting old school bullshit. I'm not sure I would be quite as optimistic as they are on that point. In addition, the existence of books like How to Lie with Statistics that was published in 1954 would make you question that new school bullshit is really that new. You are familiar with bullshit online, and like most of us, you probably consume quite a bit of it. Some of it willingly. So the fact that we are surrounded by bullshit is not new, yet it might feel like there is more and more of it. So what might be fueling that growth? Traditionally, bullshit was produced by humans. Someone had to write it and spend effort trying to make it reasonably credible. Despite the effort involved, generous quantities of bullshit have been produced throughout history. But the game has recently changed. Over the past few years, generative AI is making it a lot easier and cheaper to produce bullshit. If I had to say when things really changed, I would say in June 2020 with the release of GPT-3 by OpenAI. But other tools were available before, and we could debate what the right date is. What I think is important to note is that we are transitioning to a world in which it is cheaper and easier to produce bullshit. The transition has started, but it's not complete, as new tools are regularly released, and it's still very unclear just how good they're going to become in the next few years. These tools reduce the cost of producing bullshit, but what does that mean for our information diet? One application of bullshit is misinformation. The importance of misinformation does not need to be demonstrated. We've seen its effect in the 2016 US presidential race or during the COVID pandemic. People who stand to benefit from it have diffused misinformation, and many of us, at one point or another, have fallen victim to it, or at least have been too credulous and helped it diffuse, for example, by resharing it on social media. The diffusion of generative AI tools increases the proportion of content we're exposed to that can be characterized as misinformation. And as these tools become more and more refined, it will become increasingly difficult to tell what is genuine information and what is misinformation. With the advent of generative AI, it's becoming increasingly important that we are able to distinguish between genuine information and misinformation. And one important way in which we can do this is by not only training people in critical thinking, but also by teaching them data literacy. By that I mean teaching them enough about how statistics are made that they are able to tell when they are being misled. If you like this, give it a like to help it spread to a wider audience, and check out the video here for more of my content. Bye for now.